to be presenting the strategy of how to scaffold instruction for ML students. So the table of contents, I'm going to be talking about these points. What is a scaffold? The importance of scaffolds, the different types of scaffolds, the materials and resources that you can use to provide scaffolds to your students, the steps for planning a lesson, and then we'll look at a sample lesson plan with scaffolds and a sample assessment. So what is a scaffold? A scaffold is a temporary, an emphasis on temporary support that a teacher gives a student to enable him or her to complete a task that they would not be able to do independently. Teachers should be knowledgeable of each student's strengths and weaknesses in order to determine the appropriate scaffolds to implement. And this will also be something that the ESOL teacher would provide for you at the beginning of the school year. The goal is for students to eventually be able to perform the task on their own so teachers can remove the scaffold. So why are scaffolds important? Well, they allow students to achieve the same learning objectives and goals as everyone else in the classroom. Scaffolds build confidence. They motivate students to take risks and be successful on their own. And it also promotes classroom equity. So the different types of scaffolds, they fall in three different categories. You've got your materials and resources, and we'll take a look at some of those in just a second. With your instruction, you want to make sure that you pre-teach and pre-identify the vocabulary before the lesson. You want to make sure to provide background. You want to make sure to paraphrase, model, and reduce the linguistic load. So again, paraphrase or summarize a text. And you want to make sure that you group students appropriately. So here goes some examples of some different materials and resources for scaffolds. It's good to provide students with graphic organizers, such as categorizing or comparing, contrasting. You want to give them a bilingual dictionary. It's good to send home resources and like flyers or newsletters, also not just in English, but in their home language for the parents. And this promotes community as well. When you're having classroom discussions or you have a writing task that you want them to complete, you want to provide sentence frames and stems. If there's, for instance, a task that you want them to complete, you want to make sure there's a visual involved. Like for this visual, the word is misfortune. It's a context clues activity. If you put a picture of someone who experienced a misfortune, then that would also be helpful. And also have a word wall with content vocabulary with a picture somewhere in the classroom that's easy to see and access. Steps for planning the lesson. Well, number one, you want to know your ELs. You want to analyze the language demands of the lesson. Number three, then you want to plan your lesson and include those scaffolds. Number four, you want to select and develop appropriate materials. And then lastly, you want to teach the lesson and adapt the scaffolding and materials as needed during the lesson. So here's a sample lesson plan for a reading workshop. The I can use keywords in a mood list to explain how the story setting determines the mood. So again, there's the I can statement telling you what you're going to use. There's the mood list so that when you're reading the text, they can point out how the characters are feeling in the mood that's created. There's a video in here where they can experience a video and be able to describe the mood they're feeling. And I also put in the lesson plan sentence frames. The mood of this video was, they pick from the list, and I know this because being able to analyze the video and verbalize like why they feel this way or why the mood was the way it was. For the exit ticket, there's a sample passage with a picture, and then they have to again identify the mood using the keywords. I know this because in the text it says, and being able to point out in the text. And for this example, in the text, you see the word dusty, boarded up windows, flat and lifeless. What is the mood? And of course, one of the selections that they could choose is maybe it's a sad mood, or it could be, let's see, I'm looking at the list, an afraid mood. And this is a sample assessment as well, making sure, again, to shorten the responses, giving them a word bank, also making sure to put pictures. And this is my reference list. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to how to scaffold instruction for ML students based